Okay, for today's video, we have a Safari Ltd Mercari lot. These are some of my favorite videos to do because I don't have to do a ton of research like in my individual figure reviews, even though I do love doing those videos, but they're really easy to make and they're really fun to make, and I just get a bunch of figures usually for a really good price, so I can't wait to get into it, so let's just get right into it. So I didn't check Mercari for a few days, but randomly decided to check, and I'm so glad I did because I stumbled upon a few really good figures listed by a seller. And it was a bunch of old retired Safari figures. I think one's a Carnegie figure and the other two are just in the Wild Safari line, but all three are retired and all three are harder to get. Yeah, all three are harder to get. One's easier to get, but I'll explain that when I get to that figure. And they're three figures, not in the best of shape. Each have a few like paint chips at least and some other issues which we'll get into. But still, for how hard these figures are to get, I think a few paint chips and stuff was well worth it. Because, I mean, you can buy some figures brand new from Safari themselves, and some will still have paint chips, so it's just, it kind of is what it is. I mean, I definitely think these have some wear from, like, play, but I'm completely fine with it, with how hard specifically one of these figures is to get. And each were individual listings for a seller, but on Mercari you can like combine items to like make a lot out of like three individual items, and that's what I did. So I ended up getting these three items in a lot, and I offered, I think it was like $38 plus shipping, but I offered 31 plus shipping and ended up getting it. Honestly, I probably should have just bought it straight away, but honestly, I'm glad it worked out. But I got lucky that it did work out, considering the rare figure was up for like 4 days, but just nobody bought it. So I'm shocked it didn't sell like immediately. But yeah, I'm just really glad the seller accepted my offer and before somebody else bought some of the figures. So let's just get right into it. So I'll get this box out of the screen. We'll go like from least rare to rarest. First up, we have the Oviraptor on Nest. This is a really cool Safari figure. It's just a big Oviraptor figure, a really good size figure that's Oviraptor on a nest with some baby Oviraptors and some eggs hatching. It's a really cool detailed set, almost like a little mini diorama. This one has a few little paint chips and stuff, like right here you can see it's got some wear on the tips of the claws, but in fairly good shape. I really do like this figure. The colors are really cool on it, but yeah. So this is probably the worst figure I got in the lot because for the price I paid, it was about the price that it sells for online. I think you can get this figure for around $15 to $20 right now. And in the lot, I guess I paid a little bit less than that. But I mean, if I bought the individual listing and didn't make an offer, it would have been going for right around what it goes for online, but in a little worse shape. So I pretty much paid for exactly about what this figure should cost because it's not in perfect shape, but I got it a little cheaper than a really good shape one, so it's fine. But I mean, it's still in pretty good shape, so definitely fine with it. But like I said, it is a really awesome figure. I wish it had more feathers on it, honestly. Like, it's got this nice little set of feathers on the back and on the wing, or on the wing feathers. But then, like, the whole, like, belly and stuff is just featherless, and that's just not accurate. And even the tail is so weird. It's like almost like a big rat tail is what it reminds me of. But still, I still really like the figure, even though it does have a few issues. But I mean, it is an older figure, but I definitely wish they would have just put all feathers on it instead of having all these like naked spots almost. But it's kind of funny. This week that I got this figure, it actually had a lot of Oviraptor stuff. Between when we went to the museum and I picked up the Safari Ltd City Patty, which I'll put a link to that video. That was a really fun video. Actually went to the museum after ordering this, but I got this figure in hand before that figure, and that's why that video came up first. And then also when I teased this figure, I used the Carnegie Albertosaurus, which came out at a really similar time, but is way better feathered. So I don't know what the deal is, but interesting that that's what they chose to do. So we'll just move on to the next figure, which is one of my favorite figures ever, the Carnegie Collection Albertosaurus. But you're going to see there's a few issues with this figure. For one, it's Got some paint chips, tip of the face, tip of the tail, a few other spots, but probably the worst problem of all on this figure, doesn't stand. Not the biggest issue for me though, since I already have this figure, and I've already reviewed that figure actually. But yeah, this was like the cheapest I've seen this figure ever, and I couldn't pass on the chance of just getting another Albertosaurus figure. And I could probably end up doing like the hot water thing and maybe getting it to a stand, but it's honestly, I'm just fine with it because I'm not really going to have this figure on display right now anyways. But yeah, like I said, this is one of the cheapest listings I've ever seen this figure for. And I have already reviewed this figure, but I might redo the review for a few reasons. Mainly, though, it's because that was whenever I was in a different recording location, and just the lighting was horrible. And with that being one of my favorite figures, I wouldn't care to just redo the review, especially since there's not a ton of Albertosaurus figures. Except, speaking of Albertosaurus figures, PNSO just released a new Albertosaurus, which I was super excited about because, you know, PNSO is one of my favorite brands, and Albertosaurus being one of my favorite dinosaurs. There's just something weird about it to me, though. I really like the figure, but I don't know. It's just, like, I assumed that whenever I saw a new PNSO Albertosaurus, it would be like a must-buy, but it doesn't feel like a must-buy just yet. I don't know if that makes sense, but definitely a really good-looking figure, and I definitely plan on getting it at some point, because maybe I'll like it more once I get it in hand, but just the online pictures about it, it's just kind of whatever to me, which is kind of disappointing, because, you know, I wanted the PNSO Albertosaurine for so long, but I still really like the figure, and definitely plan on getting it. But yeah, was super glad to get the Carnegie Albertosaurus, even though, like I said, this figure specifically has a few issues. Here it is compared to mine in the collection, which I paid way more for. I don't remember exactly how much. There's actually some color variation on these two. I think they did a few different paint schemes almost on this one. This one's like darker on the top and doesn't have as many stripes, and this one's like a lighter top but has like almost like stripes on it. I don't know if you can see that well, and maybe it's just where this one's paint chipped and I can't tell, but I think there are variation in the Carnegie Albertosaurus and most of the Carnegie figures, at least just slight variation, just where they're all, I believe, hand painted. And then finally the last figure, probably the rarest in the lot, not probably, I think it definitely is, the Safari Ltd Gastornis. This is a really awesome figure. Just really hard to get. This is like one of the first ones I've seen listed in forever. Not in perfect shape though. The tips of the toes, I mean, that's definitely a whatever though, because it's the tips of the toes, but it's got a few little paint chips here and there. Definitely not in horrible shape though, definitely good enough for display considering how hard this figure is to get, but like I said, it's a really hard figure to get. So for getting this figure for like almost like $15, well, less than $15 was awesome. And like, I looked on eBay, I don't think there's any currently listed on eBay of this figure, and I could only even find one sold listing. There might be more. Sometimes my eBay filter like only shows like a few of the sold listings and not all of them, but I could only find one, at least in this year, and it sold for like $50 in May. It was in better condition, but still, $50 compared to like $10 is a lot different, especially considering there's not even any listed right now. But even if this figure wasn't a super rare figure, I would still want it just because I've always liked Gastornis. I mean, where it's featured in Walking with Beast, it's just a really cool animal. Even though in Walking with Beast it's depicted a little differently than we believe it is now, considering now we believe it's probably a herbivorous animal, but it's displayed as not a very herbivorous animal in Walking with Beast. That episode is really cool though. It's got one of like the craziest scenes though. I'll probably end up having a Walking with Beast breakdown at some point, almost like my Prehistoric Planet series at some point, but the scene with the ants, if you know what I'm talking about, that scene's like one of like, I hated that scene as a kid just because, I won't go into so much detail about it. I'll probably go into more detail, but I hated that scene whenever I watched it in Walking with Beast. But like I said, even if this figure wasn't super hard to get, it's one that I would have wanted just because of Walking with Beast, well, and just liking prehistoric animals in general. But because of Walking with Beast, I wanted a Gastornis figure, so definitely was glad to get it for such a good price. And like I said, I probably should have just ordered these all and not even made an offer, but it worked out fine, considering I got all the figures I wanted for a really good price. But definitely, hindsight, I probably should have just bought it. But like I said, it worked out, so it's fine. And seller kept this seller that I bought these from just kept listing like retired Carnegie and Safari figures for like a few days. So I ended up picking something else up, which will come in a future video. But yeah, I was really happy with this lot, and I can't wait to show off the other figure I got. Sort of like these figures though, it's not in perfect shape, but it's such a rare figure that I was happy to pay what I did for it. Oh, and since I bought these figures off Mercari, I'll mention my Mercari link. I'll put the Mercari link in the description, but pretty much if you use my Mercari link, you'll get like I think it's 15 off 30. I'm not 100% sure, but I know it's a really good deal that you'll probably be able to find something with pretty easily. And if you use my sign-up code, it'll also give me some more money on Mercari. So not only will it get you money to buy some figures, it'll help me be able to get more figures to show on the channel. So, you know, I think it's a pretty good win-win situation. But I'll put that link in the description. And one last thing that I really wanted to mention. Since the time of the last... So I recorded the museum video, and then it's been like a few days when I recorded this video. But we've hit over 250 subscribers, and I just can't thank you all enough for that. I'm so excited. I think this is really just the beginning of this channel, but I can't thank you all enough for getting me up to 250 subscribers. It's awesome. But that 250 subscribers special collection video, that video will come out after I get all the videos lined up in that upcoming videos video. The one that I mentioned, that I hinted at, the Oviraptor with this figure, that video. I'm going to do all the videos in that. So there's 2 PNSO videos, another lot video, and that other Carnegie figure that I bought from this seller. Those 4 videos will come out before the collection video, but then it'll be the 250 subscriber collection video. So we'll probably be a good little bit over 250 by the time, I hope we are at least, by the time this 250 subscriber special comes out. But I think that's completely fine. But yeah, thank you all so much for getting me up to 250. And yeah, I'm just so happy that we were able to get to that big milestone. And I did order some more figures, 3 more lots, 2 that feature really rare Carnegie figures, and I mean like really, really rare, or at least expensive for the ones listed, and the other one is a weirder dinosaur figure set that I've never had figures of, but it's like an older set, so it's not as much like the normal figures I collect, but I'll explain that more whenever we get those figures. But I can't wait to show all those off too. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'm out. Oh, and if you aren't already subscribed, I'm not going to beg, but if you aren't, it would be really appreciated, and especially if you want to see those upcoming videos. I almost forgot to do the featured figures section, so we'll go over it really quick. So the figures featured in this actual video, this is the Safari Ltd Gastornis, and like I said, this is a really hard figure to get. This is the Safari Ltd Carnegie Collection Albertosaurus. This is the Safari Ltd Oviraptor on Nest. The Albertosaurus, I think you can get on eBay right now for like around like 50 to 70-ish. The Oviraptor, like I said, you can get around for 15 to 20. If you can find the Gastornis anywhere, I think you probably should just get it, but it's very hard to get. And like I said, this is another Safari Ltd Carnegie Collection Albertosaurus. This is the Safari Ltd City Patty, which was featured in the museum video, which I'll put a link to. And I will put a link to that Albertosaurus review, but like I said, it is a kind of bad review. The review itself is good, but like I said, the lighting's just a little off, so I might try to redo that at some point, like I said, but that'll probably be a while down the road. So if you want to see that review, I wouldn't wait for the new one. I would just watch it, because I might not even end up ever redoing it, but there's a chance. And then this Safari Ltd Carnegie Collection Oviraptor, which, like I said, was featured in the channel update video where I mentioned this video. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I am out.